Good evening, Hermit Bob here. Boy, is it hot today. It hit 100 degrees again. And of course, another record again. And then, around 4 o'clock, I guess it was, maybe 3:30, it rained cats and dogs, which is code for big stinking drops of water that when they hit the windshield, it went boom. And it wasn't hail. It started off being hail and just finally thawed out about 100 feet above the car. But there's flooding in the street. Well, not really flooding. We're at a high spot, and it just all rolls off into the lakes around here. So it was a cooling effect, and got the car washed. I'm telling you, rain comes down so hard and so much that you'd be hard pressed to not have a clean car after that, or at least the paint ripped off. So this is my new phone I've got on. I'm trying it out for the first time as a recording device for my pearls of wisdom. Ooh. So yesterday I was at a beach, and you would have thought that I would have filmed, I guess you call it filmed, took videos at the beach so you could see the beach. Well, I did. I did a little speaking tour and everything. And then when I'd go back to the car and I'd play it back, there was every single one of them had somebody walking around, some female walking around with nothing coming up her backside. I guess you call them thongs. Back in when I was growing up, a thong was a flip-flop. That's a flip-flop. We used to call those thongs. And then they started calling them go-aheads. I don't know if you ever heard that one. It meant that if you walked too slow or too fast, so if you tried to run in, or I don't know, the thong was going to go ahead of you. Who knows? But anyway, because the butts were hanging out, I thought, Yoo-hoo, what's his name? It's not Yoo-hoo, YouTube. I better get that right. Would probably cancel culture me and shut it down and send a nasty letter. Or I don't know what they do. I just didn't want to find out. So I just kept re-recording, and sure as crap, there were so many people down there. So I decided to just go sit in my car in downtown section. With behind me was the entrance to the beach. I don't know if you could see it or not, but at least I was at the beach. It was fun. And I got to drive on that hard sand. That was fun. And then we went out to dinner and had a lousy dinner at a beach restaurant again. Never fails. I don't know if it's only beach restaurants. I have a hard time finding a good dinner anywhere around here. Except some Mexican restaurants. There's two beautiful Mexican restaurants. One's about 12 miles that way, and the other one's about 12 miles that way. I'll go either way. They're both pretty good. And consistently good. I've been to restaurants where the food was really good one time, and I couldn't wait to go back, and I went back and it just hit the skids. But the one thing that is kind of normal is that they've really thinned down, and I worked in restaurant business a long time, they've thinned down the amount of wait staff you have, and they really stretch them thin. And I don't know if all that's the management as much as it is the wait staff themselves. They like to make as much tips as they can, and they just really want to load up, and everybody suffers. But, you know, this is going to be what ends medium dining, not the high-end dining. High-end dining will always have food servers and bus boys and just taking care of you all the time because the money's there. And to keep the money there, you better take care of your customers. But the middle of the line ones, the Applebee's and restaurants that are like Red Lobster and all those, they're all going away, and it's just because of this terrible service. And it goes back to the kitchen too. The food comes out, and I'm sure it was supposed to be good, and it probably was good in the tests and everything, and sometimes it's good. But you know, you end up losing cooks, and you can't get new ones to work for the peanuts, and you know, they've even raised minimum wage so high in some places that they're getting people cooking that don't match up with the amount of money they're getting, and so they have to cut down in the kitchens. This place I went to last night, I said, I said to the waitress, I was just kind of joking. I said, you ought to have the dishwasher clean that up. She goes, I am the dishwasher. And then she wiped up a big mess on the floor. I go, wow. So, but it was obvious as we got our meal. The meal came out in like a bamboo plate liner with paper on it, and food was on that. And then my wife's came out in a basket, and those are just plastic things they could just throw in the dishwasher. Everything else was plastic forks and knives and plastic glasses, throwaway, disposable. And so they eliminated the big cost of the dishwasher. But everybody spread so thin, you should barely keep up, and the food came out kind of late. So that tells me that it was soggy. So I had soggy fish and chips. And my wife's burger bun was not very crisp. Something that just sat in the kitchen on a warming shelf for too long, and it was probably done, and she was just too busy doing other stuff to bring it out, and there was a big wait. But this is what's going to lead in that section. It's going to turn into where the nerds, probably not the geeks, it'll probably be the nerds, will figure out a way to feed you with a robot. That's what's going to happen. What I would like to see come back is the automat. If you don't know what that was, it was like a whole wall of little windows that you put money in, and you open it up and you pull out a plate of beef stew, or you pull out a piece of pie and stuff, and then you go sit down and you can go get your own coffee and everything. To me, if the food's even halfway good at that, and you didn't have to put up with any waiters, waitresses, anybody getting in your way, just some poor guy who does all the cleanup is all. I say poor guy because he probably gets all the questions that people that aren't used to eating an automat have to answer. But that would just eliminate the cost. If they got the automat or they got robots, the cost and the indignation of working with food servers and busboys in this day and age. And then maybe you could get some real cooks, some really good cooks that would be proud to be there. And if most cooks, I don't know, I think a lot of cooks are like me. They don't want to talk to customers. They are in the kitchen because they don't want to talk to customers, and they're in the kitchen because they like cooking. I know it. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. I was very surprised at it. I thought I was the only one that liked cooking when I was 16, 17 years old. And I got to go into industrial kitchens and institutional kitchens and then restaurant kitchens. And it was so much fun. And it's still fun. Cooking is still the most fun thing I have ever do, outside of making videos for YouTube. It's a lot of fun. Too bad it's not fun for you guys, but that's going to be it for tonight. Thanks for coming with me on my wild journey, and if I knew how to edit, I could have edited those butts out of my movie yesterday, my film yesterday, but I don't, so good night.